we're the only people who you mentioned that's been stripped totally of everything. So we really don't understand what unity is. It's not tangible for us right now. I mean, we have a lot of groups out there that's trying to bring us together, but it's just not real. And for that reason, we continue to be in this like little, what you just described. We keep going outside the community. What is the solution?
Mm-hmm. Number one, the primary solution is we have to build independent infrastructure. Institutions shape behavior. Institutions shape behavior. When you go to work, your employer can dictate your behavior in order for you to receive your paycheck. When your child goes into a school, the school can dictate behavior in order for the child to participate. The reason we have so much anarchy in the Black community is because there's few institutions in our community that provide Black people with the most essential of things: education, healthcare, employment. So as a result of our people needing to constantly go out to non-Africans institutions in order to get their needs met, there's no need to honor the code of the Black community, because the Black community isn't providing me with the things that I need. But let me also say this: organizing has not always been difficult for us. We've done it throughout our entire history in America. Yes, we've always had traitors. Yes, there was always betrayal, but not to the extent you have it now. This new reality was largely birthed in the aftermath of Dr. King's assassination in '68. They reinvented Black leadership. They reinvented the Black church. They deliberately sought to create Black bourgeoisie cliques all over America to use the Black face to control Black people, because using the white face was giving America a poor public image abroad. And so we have to understand that one of the biggest strategies that changed in the control of Black America was the stratification of oppression. What do I mean by the stratification of oppression? Before '68, you could have been Muhammad Ali, you could have been Jackie Robinson, you could have been Jesse Owens, you could have been Oprah Winfrey, but you still lived in the same Black community with the mother and father who had to take the bus to go to work. You understand? Who worked in the factory. Because of racism and the strict enforcement of segregation, no matter how much money you made or education you had, you still had to live in the ghetto. When W.E.B. Du Bois came to Philadelphia to teach at the University of Pennsylvania, he had to live in the ghetto because the community in West Philadelphia, where UPenn was, did not allow Black professors to live in the same community with the white ones. So there was no stratification of oppression. The Black scholar caught the same hell as the Black minimum wage worker. After Dr. King, they would change that. You got your millionaires, you got your billionaires, you got your PhDs, you got your masters. And along with that came the privilege of moving into the white suburb. Along with that came the privilege of sending your child to a white school. And so they've now stratified oppression, which means that if Black America is catching hell, whereas 60 years ago, me and you were on the same level, even with different education and occupation, but now it's different, because now there's certain types of concessions that the power structure will give to you by virtue of your education and employment. So when it's time to go and protest, when it's time to go and stand up to the police, you're going to think twice. You want to know why? Because you think about that house in the suburb. You're thinking about that white wife you got on your arm now that you couldn't marry before '68 nationally. You understand? You have a lot more to lose than me. And the fact that you have a lot more to lose than I do automatically weakens your commitment to the struggle, which is why we have so much mistrust towards one another now.
Yes, sir.
That's good, Peter.
Thank you, brother.
You make it sound like that.
Go ahead. Go ahead, brother Howie.
No, before you go, brother Kadeem, I wanted to ask you, brother. Now, when we watch sports, and I'm going back to Willie Lynch. When we watch, like for Michael Jordan, now they're comparing LeBron James. It's a comparison with Kobe Bryant. But if you look at the Caucasians, how they do, like just say some quarterbacks, Joe Montana, there's no comparison to Dan Marino. There's no comparison to Peyton Manning. it's always our community. We want to see who's better than who. It's like that's the Willie Lynch syndrome. Do you see that as a problem that we have?
I do see it as a problem. One of the things that plantation psychology has induced within the collective consciousness of Black people is this belief that there can only be one success story amongst us all. That's what plantation psychology did. In other words, we can all become millionaires. We can all get our doctorate. We can all have a Fortune 500 company. But plantation psychology has induced the mindset that says only one Negro at a time can win. And because we have this mindset, this one Negro mindset, only one can succeed, we automatically fight against the success of all, because we believe if somebody gets to the finish line before we do, we'll never get there as well, as opposed to a consciousness of abundance that says we can all win, we can all succeed. It may not all be at the same level, but we can still be victorious in whatever line of work we choose to pursue. But that plantation psychology only allows for one at a time. And we're so caught up in that. And that is what breeds the constant competition among Black folks. It is the European spirit. It is the Caucasian within the African, which is why I always say, until you kill the Negro, the African will never be born. Most of us are fighting. W.E.B. Du Bois, he said it best. Wow. Souls of Black folk. We have two consciousness, half Black, half European, two warring souls, two warring ideals, and constant competition with one another. We have yet to assassinate the European consciousness within African people. And it's going to be almost impossible to do that until we start sending our children to independent schools. We have to build our own independent schools. You can't send Black kids to white women and think that they're not going to become partial to the power structure that educated them. It is natural for a child to identify with the person that they believe is preparing them for their future. So until you cut that out, until our children can see themselves at the front of the classroom, they're going to always want to emulate and imitate European people.
Praise Allah. Brother, it reminds me, this white man, he's something, he gives us, he shows us daily on his television shows, his tricks, but we just see it as entertainment. There was a movie out in the 80s, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. In the scene, Keenan Ivory Wayans' character comes home from the war, and he was talking to the, I don't know the brother's name. He played Prince, his father, in Purple Rain. But he was married to the white woman, and they had a white child named Whitey. Now, it's a comedy, but the scene is serious if you're consciously thinking about it. Keenan Ivory Wayans comes in and says, "Brother, what happened to the revolution?" And the brother said, "We went in with guns, and we came out with jobs, and the revolution died." Now, I said that to ask this question. I personally think the white man have not changed for the last 6,000 years, but he's changed his tactics and strategies for dealing with us to make us to think he's a changed man. What is your thought on that?
I think it underscores the earlier point that I made, that most Black people don't want to be free. They want to be comfortable. Yeah. See, if you went in for a revolutionary transformation of society and opportunity, and you gave that up the minute you got a job, then you were never really committed to the revolution in the first place. You were just looking for better comfort. And that's what a lot of us are doing. See, it's easy to be quote unquote pro-Black when you're broke. Everybody's conscious when they're broke. Everybody's a revolutionary when they broke. It's only when you're given an opportunity to do otherwise.
Come on now.
Do you come to understand who you really are and who you're really about? That's why the book, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen, and he's a European, but he made a good point. He said the situation doesn't make the man. The situation don't make you. The fact you got a job is not what made you. It revealed who you really were all along. It's like 20 years from now, Dr.UMAR ends up with a white girl. That was already in me. That was there all along. It's just that the right circumstance did not reveal itself. And that's why, for me, in doing this work, you have to be very careful who you align yourself with and who you do the work with, because a lot of brothers and sisters will come with the consciousness, the commitment. I'm ready for change. I want to work. I want to join you. But that's only because they don't have no options. Are you still going to be just as committed when you get some options? It's no different than the brothers and sisters in the conscious movement who come to the conscious community only after they've been uninvited by the black bourgeoisie or disinvited by the white power structure. You have to be careful of those folks because they're only with you because they're out of options. The question is, who is in this for the fight for the right reasons and not just because they're out of options? I've always been about black consciousness since I was a 9-year-old fourth grader. I don't know anything else. I don't want anything else. Went through college. That didn't change. The Masons came. I didn't want it. All types of other secret groups came. I wanted none of that. I am totally independent in what I do. But the problem is, it's difficult to find other brothers and sisters who have that same level of commitment when they're presented with opportunities that did not previously exist.
Yes, sir.
Man, we so much know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Knowing that education is a big is a cripple for our community, and eventually I definitely want to open up a school. Do you think that me and Brother Jackie have discussed that?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Because all of us on this platform, we mentor youth, we mentor young men.
Right.
That's how we came together. But do you think that, and I know you're probably thinking that okay, if everybody opened schools, what would be the platform? Do you think that at any time you would be in a position where you would back everyone to open schools on a push towards our privatizing and open up our own schools?
Absolutely. One of the things that I would like to do once we get the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy open, the first one is I plan to actually franchise that particular system, to take it global, because as a Pan-Africanist, I'm looking out for all African children, not just the ones in these 50 states. But along with the point that you're making, yes, I think that we have to bring all of the independent African-centered schools under the same umbrella to some extent, so that we make it easier for Black parents to navigate those schools. So if they're going to leave FDMG because they're moving to LA, they could go to the Garvey School in LA. If they got to go to Chicago, they could go to the Nation of Islam School in Chicago. And so you move around, but we have to make it easier for the consumer, because the number one principle of business is convenience. And one thing that Black businesses don't do a good enough job at is making it convenient for Black people to stay loyal to Black businesses, because too often the Black businesses are competing with each other. They don't communicate with each other. They're competing, and so what we have to do, at least in the school sector, is we have to create some sort of system whereby the children can matriculate comfortably from one academy to the next as the need arises.
Man, that's why, brother, I support you, brother. I listen to some of the critics, weak argument, bro, and being independent, even just to get to that mindset, bro, is like you said, it's an institution, shapes our behavior issue. How will we do that? As far as your school, are you going to design your own education fully?
Absolutely. And I have a team. Most of my friends are educators, so I have a team, and we work together and we collaborate, particularly in areas where I want a little bit more input. But we're doing it from the grassroots up. I mean, we've already seen the way the European does it. I've been a principal, I've been an assistant principal. And being in this field, the way that they teach our children isn't the best way for our children to learn. And to be honest with you, a lot of the curriculum, a lot of the pedagogy, a lot of the philosophy behind what they do in public school is not based on sound educational theory. It's based on political agenda and economics. The children are being taught what the government needs them to think. The children are being taught based on who got the contract to provide the reading program, who got the contract to provide the math program. Now, the other math program might have been better, but nobody cares about that. We're going to go with this math program because the superintendent's cousins, nieces, nephews, godfathers, next door neighbor is the one selling this to the school district. Science has very little to do with the way our children are taught in public and charter school. It's about political agenda and economics.
Great.